Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily story with a chapter from one of my novellas. Before I start today's chapter, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this book and any of my other fiction, then they're all available from all major ebook retailers. You can order the paperback and hardback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore and local library if you requested. Also, if you want the AI generated audiobook, then you can get it from selected audiobook platforms and library systems like Kobo, Spotify, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, Baker & Taylor, Biblioteca and Overdrive. Now, here's today's chapter. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did writing it.
Chapter 1. Friday the 7th of July 2023. Canterbury, England. Harley Cole sat in his best friend's brand new black Ford something. He never had been good with cars, with the wonderful smell that only brand new fresh from the factory cars had, that reminded him of great sweets as a child, and the soft leather felt so silky against his skin as he sat on the large black passenger seat. The little black Ford drove slowly down the narrow country lanes, with thick blackberry bushes lining either side, and Harley actually couldn't remember the last time he had ever been down country lanes. They were just awful in his opinion, but his best friend Douglas was just driving so expertly that he didn't mind at all. Even the delightful hints of blackberry managed to barely cut through the aroma of the new car. Harley realized that he was really going to like this trip. Granted, the dirt country lane road was a little worsened for wear, but he didn't mind. These country lanes in the south of England were hardly used too much, and every trip with Douglas was a small adventure in its own right. And as the setting sun turned the sky a striking fiery orange with pink streaks running through it, he realized this was exactly the sort of break him and Douglas needed after finishing up their undergrad degrees. Harley had loved his psychology degree, specializing in clinical psychology, or mental health as he always explained it to everyone, but those last exams were just a nightmare. Hopefully he passed, but he knew he would. He worked way too hard, and had barely gone out in the last year, to make sure he knew everything he could for those exams. The little Ford turned left and went down another very long country lane, with the blackberry bushes being replaced with tall oak trees with branches shooting out in all directions, managing to block out some of the setting sun. Birds sang for the final time in the distance before the sun set, and Harley just looked at his best friend and was so grateful he had wanted him along. Harley had to admit that Douglas had to have some sort of ulterior motive, because they were currently driving towards Canterbury, England, so they could both pay their respects to Douglas's dead grandmother. The entire family was meant to be coming, so Harley had no idea why Doug had been so insistent that he came. Normally Harley would have refused, and he did at first, but Doug had played up the fact that he was so upset and he just wanted a friendly face. It also didn't exactly help that Harley hadn't been home to Canterbury for the 3 years of his degree, and his parents had always been away on business, but they too were back in Canterbury. So it wouldn't exactly be a bad idea to see them in person for once, instead of the twice-a-week video chat that normally lasted for an hour or two, depending on what him and Mum called the state of the family stuff. He had already agreed to spend all of August with them, but he was just looking forward to seeing them. Harley laughed, and he was so excited about seeing his family again and going to the celebrations dedicated to Doug's grandmother. "Did I ever meet your grandma?" Harley asked. "Nah, I haven't seen her in person for 2 years. She wrote letters to me, and I tried to video chat with her, but she was the enemy of technology." Harley just smiled. His nan and granddad were like that. "You know what's happening this weekend then? And is it possible for me to go and see my parents, too?" Harley asked. "Of course, don't be silly, of course. The entire weekend is really free, except from the funeral tomorrow morning. The afternoon is dedicated to going around Canterbury and enjoying some of Grandma's favorite places, and then there's a big family meal tomorrow night." From what Harley had heard about Grandma Douglas, she was a very funny, crazy woman that loved to have a good time, including a lot of dancing, theft, and bingo. Harley really hoped he didn't have to play bingo, because as much as he knew it wasn't, bingo was just such an old person's game. Tonight is just for the out-of-town lot, like us having to travel up from Exeter, and my cousin is coming. Have I ever told you about Cousin Jase? Harley just shook his head and smiled. That was the reason why Doug had invited him here, but the last he heard of Jase, he was with a boyfriend of 5 years. They were happy, cute, and very hot together. Him and his boyfriend broke up last month. It's a shame because the guy was hot, and without Jase, I wouldn't have realized I was gay until I went to uni. Harley just nodded. This was a setup, plain and simple, but of course, Harley may have seen Jase on Doug's social media a few times, and he had to admit Jase was hot as hell, but he was far cuter than his boyfriend. As the immense cathedral spire of Canterbury came into view, Harley just smiled and sat back in the wonderful little Ford and waited for them to arrive. He had a little feeling that this weekend was going to be extremely fun, attractive, and really worthwhile. And that was hardly a bad thing.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.